Welcome to Lesson 4.3, Part 2, Reservation and ATP Configuration and Execution from SAP S/4HANA Cloud Supply Chain CS4CSC by KRTI Edu. In this lesson, we will move from theory to practice. You'll learn how reservations and availability to promise checks are configured and executed in the S/4HANA Cloud system using Central Business Configuration and SAP Fiori. This session focuses on configuration and execution. We'll see where to define reservation logic, movement types, and account mapping in CBC. You'll also learn how ATP is set up through checking rules and scope of check parameters. Finally, we'll perform reservation and ATP transactions through Fiori apps. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to configure reservation parameters and movement types, map business roles, and set up ATP logic in CBC. You'll also know how to execute both reservation creation and ATP checks through standard Fiori apps and how to analyze and validate the results. Reservation configuration scope. Let's begin with reservation configuration. In CBC, navigate to Manage your solution, Configure your solution, Materials management, Inventory management, Reservations. Here you define movement type control, number ranges, account assignment categories, and whether reservations can be created manually or automatically. These controls define how reservation documents behave within your tenant. Movement type settings in CBC. Movement types dictate how inventory is affected when a reservation is consumed. CBC pre-delivers standard movement types such as 201 for cost center issues, 261 for production orders, and 281 for project consumption. Each movement type specifies quantity direction, stock type, and valuation relevance. Although customization is restricted in the public cloud, consultants must understand this logic for configuration validation. Account determination mapping. Every reservation posting that issues material to an order or cost center affects financial accounts. In CBC, navigate to Valuation and Account Assignment, Account Determination. Here you maintain GL accounts by valuation class and transaction key. Typical keys include BSX for inventory, GBB for consumption, and WRX for GRIR clearing. This mapping ensures that each material issue posts to the correct expense or asset account. Automatic versus manual reservation logic. Reservations can be created automatically or manually. Automatic reservations are generated by production or maintenance orders during order release. Manual reservations are entered directly through Fiori apps. In CBC, you control these behaviors by enabling the Automatic Creation Allowed flag for specific order types. This ensures integration between production planning and inventory management. Business roles for reservation execution. To execute reservations, users must have the right roles. The SAP BR Inventory Manager role allows creation and approval of reservations. The SAP BR Material Planner role handles ATP checks and monitoring. The SAP BR Prod End Supervisor role triggers automatic reservations from production orders. And SAP BR Configuration Expert SCM provides access to CBC configuration settings. Fiori apps for reservations. S/4HANA Cloud uses role-based Fiori apps for reservations. Manage Material Reservations F2132 lets users create, edit, or display reservations. Post Goods Issue F183 executes stock issue against a reservation. Display Material Document F1077 provides document verification. Finally, Stock Multiple Materials F0271 shows updated stock positions after issue. ATP Configuration Overview. Availability to promise is configured in CBC under Advanced ATP, AATP, or Basic ATP Setup Availability Check. Here, you define checking groups and checking rules. The checking group comes from the material master, while the checking rule comes from the business process such as sales, production, or procurement. Their combination determines ATP logic for each transaction. The scope of check defines what stock and requirements ATP should consider. In CBC, under Define Scope of Check, include or exclude elements like unrestricted stock, planned orders, purchase orders, reservations, or safety stock. For example, you may include quality inspection stock but exclude blocked stock. This configuration determines the depth of your ATP evaluation. Checking rules and control. Each business process uses its own checking rule. For example, sales orders use Rule A, while production orders use Rule 02PP. The checking rule determines when ATP runs, during creation, change, or delivery. Assign checking rules to checking groups in CBC for complete control of ATP execution across business areas. Master data dependency, ATP configuration won't work without proper master data. In the material master under the MRP3 view, ensure that the availability check field has a value such as 01 or 02. This activates ATP for that material. Without it, even if ATP is configured in CBC, the system will not perform availability checks. If advanced ATP is enabled, additional options become available, including rule-based ATP, backorder rescheduling, and product substitution. Public Edition supports AATP primarily for sales and production processes. Access configuration via Configuration Expert for sales, advanced availability check. This allows sophisticated multi-plant and product allocation logic. Executing reservation in Fiori. To execute a reservation, open Manage Material Reservations, F2132. Click Create Reservation and enter the plant, movement type, and purpose. Add the material, quantity, and storage location. Save the document. To issue the goods, open Post Goods Issue F83 and complete the posting. The system updates stock and generates a material document automatically. Executing ATP check in Fiori. To perform an ATP check, open Monitor Material Availability F0294. Enter material, plant, and required date. The system reads the scope of check and displays available, committed, and open quantities. If shortages are detected, ATP suggests rescheduling or triggers backorder processing. Confirm results to commit quantities in the order or reservation. Validation and error handling. Common ATP and reservation errors include ATP not executed, missing checking group in material master. Account determination not possible, incomplete valuation mapping. Material blocked for availability check, incorrect status. Use Display Application Log F1865 to review detailed system logs and correct configurations before re-executing. Reporting and Analytics. Reporting ensures configuration integrity. Use Material Stock Overview F266 for stock details, Monitor Shortages F4327 for supply gaps, and Inventory Turnover KPI for ATP efficiency. These analytical tiles help planners visualize stock commitments and identify bottlenecks early in the planning process. You've now configured reservation and ATP logic in CBC and tested them in Fiori. We covered movement types, account determination, business roles, and ATP checking rules. In Part 3, we'll perform a hands-on mini-lab to create reservations, run ATP checks, and validate results end-to-end. KRTI Edu. Learn, practice, certify, succeed.